Hello guys, this is your friend. We are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto mastered the Kage Bunshin and built a dangerous Kunoichi harem with Anko, Akane, Yugito, Tayuya and Koyuki. Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And no start a new fanfic. Naruto dropped down into the middle of the clearing that his silver-haired instructor, Mizuki, had told him to meet him at after stealing the scroll from the Hokage's tower. He was panting slightly as he had ran as fast as humanly possible to evade the Anbu squads and Junin that were ordered to find him. Why would there be Anbu and Junin after me just for a test? Something's not right. In any case, I better start learning a jutsu from the scroll before Mizuki-sensei arrives. Naruto thought as he dropped the huge scroll onto the ground and unrolled it. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique, seems easy enough to me. Just form a cross-shaped hand seal and channel chakra into it. Let's see. Clones formed are solid and user retains any memories the clone has. Sounds ideal for training. Naruto cracked his hands before forming a cross-shaped hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he whispered as several puffs of smoke appeared around the clearing. The smoke cleared to reveal 5 identical Narutos standing around the original. Naruto went over to one of the clones and scrutinized it before raising a hand and poking it. He let out a grin upon discovering it was indeed solid. Yada, I can do a clone jutsu now. Mizuki-sensei sure has to pass me for that. Naruto exclaimed before looking back at the scroll. If I learn an extra jutsu then Mizuki-sensei could give me extra marks for the test. So Naruto walked back to the scroll and started flipping through it. A few different techniques did catch his eye, but he decided against learning them for various reasons. Next, Kuchiyos, Edo Tensai, Summoning, Impure World Resurrection, a technique invented by the Nadaime Hokage that allows the user to summon the dead back to the realm of the living. Perform the hand seals tiger, snake, dog, dragon and then clap your hands. Technique requires sacrifices. No way I'm learning this. Naruto looked at the technique in disgust, wondering why the Nadaime created such a technique. Alright, next one, Shiki Fujin, Dead Demon Consuming Seal. Allows the user to summon the Shinigami to seal away something or someone into a vessel at the cost of the summoner's life. Lame. Naruto deadpanned as he flipped to the next entry. Bunkatsu Seigen, Saoryu no Maji, Limit Break, Soul Merge. This technique fuses the dark and light, also known as the yin and yang opposing halves of the soul together. Labeled a kinjutsu because even though the user becomes extremely powerful, their personality can sometimes undergo a complete change. Hand seals are snake, tiger, dragon, boar, monkey and hold in ram seal while channeling chakra. Naruto grinned as this technique sounded interesting. He practiced going through each hand seal slowly so as to not mess up. I've found you, a panting Iruka said as he dropped down in front of a surprised Naruto, who just grinned and pointed at him with 2 fingers. Hey, I found the nosebleeder, Naruto exclaimed. Baka, I found you, Iruka shouted using the technique that inflates your head before calming down and staring at Naruto. He. You found me, but I've managed to learn 2 different jutsus from the scroll. Now you will have to let me graduate, right, Iruka-sensei? Naruto looked at the Chunin instructor in excitement. Naruto, where did you get that scroll from? Iruka asked seriously. Oh, this thing. Naruto pointed at the huge scroll. Mizuki-sensei told me about the secret graduation test. He said I had to steal this scroll from the Hokage tower and meet him here. He said that if I learned a jutsu from this scroll and showed you then I would definitely be able to graduate. Mizuki, whoa, look out. Iruka shoved Naruto out of the way and was hit by the hail of kunai that came their way, the impact sending him skidding into the wooden shack behind him. Nice job finding the moron. Iruka and Naruto turned in the direction of the voice to find Mizuki crouching on a tree branch with 2 Fuma shuriken attached to his back. I see. So that's what's going on. Iruka grabbed his side in pain as he spat some blood out of his mouth. Naruto, give me the scroll if you want to graduate. Mizuki shouted at the confused boy. Huh, what the hell is going on here? Naruto looked from Iruka to Mizuki in confusion. Naruto, whatever happens here, don't give Mizuki the scroll. Iruka shouted suddenly. That's a dangerous scroll that contains forbidden ninjutsu inside it. Mizuki used you to get his hands on it. Naruto, there's no point in you having the scroll. I will tell you the truth now. Mizuki smirked at the shocked look on both Iruka's and Naruto's faces. No, don't. Iruka yelled, but Mizuki just ignored him. 12 years ago, when the Kyuubi attacked the village, remember how the demon fox was defeated by the Yondaime Hokage, right? Mizuki asked him. He nodded his head. Well, on that day a special rule was created for this village, but this rule was never meant to be told to you. Mizuki inwardly grinned at the look on Naruto's face. Why not me? What is this rule? Tell me, Naruto demanded, causing Mizuki to let out a dark chuckle. What kind of rule is it? The rule that the Sandaime made was that nobody is allowed to talk about the fact that you are the Kyuubi no Yoko. Nine-tailed demon fox. Mizuki pointed at him. What? Naruto stammered as his eyes widened in disbelief. What do you mean by that? Stop it, Mizuki, Iruka shouted, but was ignored once again. It means that you are in fact the Kyuubi no Yoko, that killed Iruka's parents and destroyed the village. You were sealed up by the Hokage you admire so much and, Mizuki explained slowly. Stop it. Iruka desperately tried to prevent Mizuki from continuing. You have been lied to by everyone. Mizuki grinned in triumph. Didn't you find it odd that everyone hates you and how you were ignored and denied even the most basic necessities? Naruto clenched his fists as he closed his eyes and tears started flowing out of them. Iruka is the same as the rest of them. He may act friendly towards you, but on the inside, he hates you as well. Mizuki unlatched the gigantic shuriken from his back and started spinning it with his hand. Naruto had his eyes closed so he didn't notice, but Iruka did and reflected on the words the Sandaime had said to him. Naruto has never known a parent's love and all the villagers hate him, so to get the attention he desires, he causes all sorts of mischief and mayhem. He wants the people to acknowledge his existence in any possible way. He acts tough and indifferent, but he is really suffering on the inside. Naruto had felt someone push him onto the ground and opened his eyes to see Iruka crouching over him, the giant shuriken that had been meant for him stuck in his back. Naruto looked at him in shock as Iruka's sweat and blood dripped onto his cheek and trailed down his whisker-like birthmarks. Mizuki sneered from his perch. Why? Naruto whispered as he looked at his teacher. My parents, after they died, there was nobody to compliment or acknowledge me. I always acted like an idiot or a clown, just to get people's attention since I wasn't good at learning or doing homework. It was better than being nothing, so I kept acting like an idiot. It was so painful. Iruka replied as tears started cascading down his face. Naruto, you must have also been in a lot of pain. I'm sorry, Naruto. If I only did a better job, then you wouldn't have to feel like this. Naruto couldn't take any more and started running away. Naruto. Naruto isn't the type of person to have a change of heart, and I think he's planning to use the scroll to get revenge. You saw those eyes earlier, the eyes of a real demon. Mizuki said as he jumped down from his spot on the branch and landed near Iruka, who pulled out the giant shuriken from his back with a grunt. Naruto, isn't like that. Iruka panted out. Well, that doesn't really matter. I'll kill Naruto and get the scroll before coming back to deal with you later. Mizuki leapt away from Iruka in the direction that Naruto fled to. Iruka coughed out some blood as he tried to pursue Mizuki. No, damn it, another part of the forest. Naruto, hurry up and give me the scroll. Mizuki is after you, Iruka shouted as he spotted Naruto jumping from tree to tree in front of him. Naruto shifted direction suddenly and slammed his shoulder into Iruka's stomach, causing him to slam into the ground as Naruto collapsed at the base of a tree. Why, Naruto? Iruka gasped out before he vanished in a cloud of smoke, revealing that it was really Mizuki in a henge. How did you know I wasn't Iruka? Naruto chuckled before vanishing in a cloud of smoke, revealing a smirking Iruka. I'm Iruka, I see. Mizuki said with a dark smile. The real Naruto was actually hiding behind a tree trunk near them and could hear them. He, you'd even transform into what killed your parents to protect him. I won't hand over the scroll to someone like you. Iruka shouted defiantly. You idiot. Naruto and I are the same. Mizuki replied, causing Naruto to frown behind the tree. What are you saying? Iruka glared at him. If you use the skills written in that scroll, you can do whatever you want. Unlike what you're assuming, there's no way that Demon Fox wouldn't try to use that scroll to gain more power. Mizuki exclaimed. Yeah, Iruka whispered, causing Naruto to clench his fists. I knew it. See, even Iruka-sensei deep down doesn't acknowledge me. Naruto thought before he looked up sharply at what he heard next. The Demon Fox would do that, but Naruto is different. He is one of my excellent students. He may not be the hardest worker and he is clumsy and no one accepts him. He already knows what it is to feel pain inside your heart. He isn't the Demon Fox, he is a member of Konohagakure no Sato. He's Uzumaki Naruto. Iruka glared at Mizuki defiantly. Naruto felt tears run down his face as he heard his teacher acknowledge him. Well, whatever, Mizuki sneered as he took his remaining Fuma shuriken in hand. Iruka grunted as a sudden spike of pain shot through his body. Iruka, I said I would take care of you later but I changed my mind. Hurry up and die. Mizuki screamed out as he spun the giant shuriken in his hand and dashed at the injured Iruka, who just smiled slightly at his impending doom. Before Mizuki could reach Iruka, an orange blur shot out from behind a tree and rammed Mizuki in the chin with his knee, causing the giant shuriken to slam into a random tree. Iruka looked at Naruto in shock as he landed in front of him after sending Mizuki skidding across the forest floor. You shouldn't have done that. Mizuki growled as he spat out some blood and stood back up. Don't touch Iruka-sensei, you piece of trash, or I'll kill you. Naruto glared at Mizuki. You idiot. Why did you come out? Iruka shouted but was ignored by the two. Ha ha ha, I'll kill someone like you in one shot. Mizuki exclaimed. Try it, I dare you. I'll show you what I've learned from the scroll. Naruto ran through the hand seals. Snake, tiger, dragon, boar, monkey and finally ram. Then do it, Demon Fox. Mizuki shouted. Bunkatsu Seigen. Saoryu no Maji. Naruto called out as he channeled his chakra into the ram seal but suddenly doubled over in pain as red, blue and black chakra tendrils suddenly surrounded him. What the hell? Ha ha ha, trust someone like you to not know what a jutsu does before using it. Now die. Mizuki drew a kunai and charged at Naruto but was suddenly blown away by a shockwave of power. Bunkatsu Seigen. Saoryu no Maji, I've heard of this jutsu, it was created by the Shadaime Hokage. Apparently he figured out that everyone's soul is split in two parts, the yin and yang, light and dark. So the jutsu combines both aspects into one. This grants the user double their power and chakra at the risk of losing their original personality. Iruka thought as he witnessed Naruto being swallowed up into a dome of swirling red, blue and black chakra. So what the heck is happening? Naruto's mindscape. Drip, drip, drip. Naruto opened his eyes to find that he wasn't in the forest surrounding Konoha anymore. Instead he was in a strange sewer-like dungeon with a huge metal gate in front of him. He leapt backward in shock as two sinister crimson eyes appeared behind the metal gate, followed by a mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. Boy, do you know what you have done? The strange figure behind the gate asked in a loud booming voice. You're the Kyuubi, aren't you? Naruto gaped as the Kyuubi moved forward slightly, revealing its blood-red fur and 9 tails fanned out behind it. Yes boy, I am indeed the Kyuubi, or was, Kyuubi growled. What do you mean? Naruto asked with a puzzled expression. That jutsu you used was not meant to be used by people like you, a Jinchuriki, since you have an extra soul inside you. Normally I would be absorbed into you, never to be seen again, but your father's seal saved me from that. Kyuubi explained. Wait a minute, my father. The Yondaime is my father and he stuck me with this burden. Naruto yelled in outrage. Unfortunately yes, Now as I was saying. The seal is powered by a soul shard of the Shinigami, and it is that instead of my soul that is being absorbed into you. Kyuubi used a tail to point at the trail of black chakra emanating from the seal tag. That explains the black chakra but not the red one. Naruto mused aloud. The red-colored chakra is mine, although my soul has been spared, the technique still claims something from me, and that is my power. I will eventually regain my power, but that would take a few years at least, so you will become a demon Shinigami hybrid by the time this jutsu is over. I won't be human anymore. Naruto whispered. No, but isn't being a demon with the power of the Shinigami much better than that? Kyuubi asked, causing Naruto to think about it a while. I guess that makes sense, and the only person whose opinion I give a damn about is Iruka-sensei. Hold up, then what happens to you? Naruto looked back at the Kyuubi. I will be released from the seal since it will be absorbed into you except without a single tail of power. Kyuubi answered simply. Oh, I see. However, I would like something in compensation for my power, Kyuubi said suddenly. Well, that depends on what you're asking, Naruto trailed off as he waited. Nothing much, just that you take me as your mate. Kyuubi started transforming at the end of the sentence and went from a gigantic demon fox to a beautiful woman within the span of a second. Kyuubi had blood-red hair that fell freely down her back all the way to her shapely rear. She had long toned legs and firm C-cup. Her pupils were a stunning crimson with a black vertical slit running through them. She had a pair of orange fox ears on her head as well as 9 orange tails emerging from the area above her. Naruto pinched his nose tightly to prevent himself from suffering a major nosebleed at the sight of the beautiful and demoness in front of him. Why would you want me as your mate? Naruto asked once he had gotten himself under control, but still blushed as he tried to avert his eyes from the body of Kyuubi. Don't be mistaken, I am a demon and we are attracted to power, and you will be the most powerful thing to walk this planet in a few minutes. You will understand once you absorb my power completely. Kyuubi smirked. Don't worry, you will be able to take other females as your mates as well, as long as you get my approval first. What? Naruto shouted in surprise. It is common practice for male demons of great strength to have multiple mates to ensure their legacy lives on through their children. Kyuubi explained simply. Fine, I guess I can do that. Naruto conceded to Kyuubi's request before suddenly collapsing on the sewer floor in pain. Looks like the jutsu is about to be finished. See you on the outside, Naru-kun. Kyuubi cooed as they both faded from the mindscape. Back in the forest, Mizuki regained consciousness in time to see the multicolored dome turn purple in color before withdrawing back into a tall male figure holding a slimmer female figure in his arms. Naruto, Iruka asked in disbelief. What's up, sensei? Just sit there while I deal with the trash. Naruto's voice had deepened, but that was not all that changed. Naruto had shot up from a measly 1.45 meters to an impressive 1.7 meters. His once short, spiky blonde hair now resembled his father's but had black streaks running through it. His original sky blue pupils were now amethyst in color and had a vertical black slit running through it. His whisker-like birthmarks seemed to have darkened and all traces of baby fat were gone from his face. Instead of the horrible orange jumpsuit he always wore, he was now garbed in a black kimono top and matching black hakama pants with a crimson haori over the shirt. He also had a sheathed katana attached to his left hip. I'll be right back, Q-chan. Naruto whispered to the demoness, who was now clothed in a black yukata with crimson sash, as he placed her at the base of a tree. Just call me Akane. Kyuubi, now known as Akane, told him as he nodded in acknowledgement before walking towards Mizuki. I knew it. You are a demon, Mizuki shouted in glee as he threw a barrage of shuriken at the approaching figure of Naruto, who merely drew his katana from its sheath and deflected all of them. No, I'm not a demon, I am more powerful than that. Naruto replied calmly as Mizuki finally ran out of shuriken and kunai. He approached the traitor who had backed up against a tree. Lies. I will kill you now and the village will proclaim me a hero. Mizuki laughed insanely as he jumped up and attempted to hit Naruto with a rising uppercut, but Naruto just caught his wrist with his left hand. If you want a demon, I will show you how demonic I can be. Naruto growled as he used one hand and threw Mizuki upwards before sheathing his katana and leaping up after him. Just as he was about to reach Mizuki, Naruto drew his katana in a wide horizontal slash. Kororyu no Jusho. Black Dragons Rise. Naruto called out as he landed on a tree branch and Mizuki's body separated in a bloody shower at the waist. Akane licked her lips at the display of power while Iruka watched in awe at how much power Naruto had gained just after performing that jutsu. Iruka-sensei, are you alright? Naruto asked the Chunin instructor, who snapped out of his stupor at the mention of his name. Just need to get these wounds bandaged up and I'll be fine. Iruka grunted before looking Naruto over once again. More importantly, what happened to you? I will answer any questions you have later, just let me heal your wounds first. Naruto's hand glowed purple and Iruka watched in amazement as the wounds stitched up and healed themselves. That was amazing, Naruto. Now about that explanation and who that lady is. Iruka asked. You will have to wait a while, sensei. That old sack of bones, also known as the Hokage, would have watched the entire thing through his crystal ball. So we would be called into his office anyway, where I will explain everything. A squad of Anbu appeared just as Naruto finished his sentence. Naruto, Iruka-san, Hokage-sama has called for the both of you to meet him in his office with the Forbidden Scroll now. A Neko-masked Anbu said. Thank you for informing us, Neko-chan. Come on, Iruka-sensei, Akane-chan. We wouldn't want to keep Hokage-sama waiting now, would we? Naruto picked up Akane bridal style and stood next to Iruka before all three of them sunk into a shadow portal that formed below their feet. Hokage Tower. Sarutobi Hiruzen was not having a good day. He sighed tiredly and rubbed his wrinkled temples. First he had to deal with endless piles of paperwork. Just as he was about to complete them, Naruto burst into his office and knocked him out with that stupid technique of his and made off with the Forbidden Scroll. As he thought his day couldn't get any worse, he watched through his crystal ball as Mizuki informed Naruto about the Kyuubi and the events that occurred after it. He tensed slightly as a swirling shadow portal appeared in the middle of his office but relaxed slightly when Naruto, Iruka and that girl that was with Naruto appeared from it. Naruto, what the hell was that? Iruka gasped out, slightly pale from the technique. That was known as Kage no Ryoko, shadow traveling. I can transport myself and people around me using the shadows as a medium. Naruto explained as he took a seat and Akane sat on his lap, causing Iruka and the Sandame to cough slightly. Well, Naruto-kun, care to explain what happened out there? Hiruzen asked as he took a puff of his pipe. That jutsu caused me to fuse with not only my dark self but Kyuubi's power as well as the soul shard of the Shinigami that was used to power the seal. So I now have the powers of Kyuubi and the Shinigami as well as their memories on how to use all their techniques, which makes me a demon with Shinigami powers. Naruto replied, simply causing Iruka to go wide-eyed and the Hokage to cough as he accidentally inhaled some of his pipe's smoke. Okay, who is this lovely lady then? Hiruzen gestured to the red-haired lady occupying Naruto's lap. This is Akane-chan, also known as the former Kyuubi no Yoko and my mate. Naruto put his arms around Akane as she leaned back into his embrace. What? Hiruzen and Iruka shouted at the same time. After the jutsu did what it did, the seal fell apart and released a now powerless Akane back into the world. Naruto smirked slightly at the pout on his mate's face. And the mate part? Iruka asked. Akane asked that in exchange for taking her power that I take her as my mate as well, so I did. Naruto had a full-blown smirk now as he watched the two men sigh and rub their heads. Only you, Naruto, only you could give me such a big headache all in the span of a day. Hiruzen groaned before a sudden crushing force filled the room. Both Iruka and the Sandame had trouble breathing as they looked to the source to find a poker-faced Naruto looking straight at the Hokage. Tell me, when did you exactly plan on telling me that I had Akane-chan sealed inside me? Naruto said softly as Akane got up with a grin and walked to a corner of the office and leaned on the wall there to watch the show. I didn't plan on telling you, I wanted you to live as normal a life as possible, the old Hokage replied, causing killing intent to join the crushing force. Normal. My life was never normal, so tell me, why did you not tell me about my burden? Naruto roared in his demonic voice as black and purple chakra swirled around him. I believed that if you did not know of the Kyuubi's existence then she would not be able to influence your actions. Hiruzen finally admitted, so you believed that if I had known about Akane-chan, I would have been influenced by her. He, do you have that little faith in my father's seal? When did you plan on telling me that little piece of information, huh? Naruto had approached the Hokage's desk as he spoke and slammed a fist on it, shattering it under his strength. How did you find out? Hiruzen stuttered as his face paled while Iruka had a look of shock on his face. Akane-chan informed me of it, so what's your stupid excuse this time? Naruto glared at the Hokage, who did his best not to flinch at the amount of hate and malice hidden within those slitted pupils. Why, your father had plenty of enemies, the most prominent being Iwa, and they would stop at nothing to kill or capture you if they found out about your heritage. Hiruzen replied, did I ask you why you didn't tell Iwa? I asked you why you didn't tell me. I wondered all my life who my parents were and if they were proud of me or hated me like the rest of the villagers. And you knew all along but didn't tell me. Naruto snarled as he picked up the Hokage by his robes. I'm so sorry, Naruto, just tell me if I can do anything at all to make it up to you. Hiruzen said in a voice filled with remorse and shame, causing Naruto to drop him back in his chair. Tell me who my mother is, give me a ninja status and give me my inheritance, and maybe, just maybe I may forgive you, but I will never forget this. Naruto's voice returned to normal as the swirling chakra vanished and the killing intent and crushing force were retracted. Your mother's name was Uzumaki Kushina, she was the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. And just swipe your blood across the portrait of your father, there is a blood seal on it and it contains your family inheritance. Collect your headband from me tomorrow morning. Hiruzen replied after a slight hesitation. Naruto did as he said and bit his thumb before swiping it across his father's picture, causing several scrolls to pop out of it. One more thing, please include Akane-chan into my team, and keep all that happened here to yourselves. I'll see you at the team selections in 3 days' time, Iruka-sensei, Yane. Naruto grabbed Akane and they both disappeared into a shadow portal. Hokage-sama, is the Yondaime really Naruto's father? Iruka asked hesitantly. Yes, I am afraid so. Please keep what has happened here to yourself and you are not to reveal it to anyone on pain of death. You're dismissed, Iruka. Hiruzen sighed as Iruka gave a curt nod and vanished in a shunshin body flicker. With Naruto and Akane appeared out of a shadow portal directly in front of the Namikaze estate's gates. He turned towards the snickering demoness with a smirk. Hey, I knew it, my little act caused the old sap to feel guilty enough to cave into my demands almost instantly. Naruto said, who knew that the Hokage was such an emotional old fool? Akane snickered before she was pulled into a kiss by Naruto. She smirked as he pulled away. And I like the new you, so much more spontaneous and demonic. Well, why don't I show you how much more demonic I can be? Naruto whispered huskily into her ear, sending a pleasant shiver through her spine. He reached out to push the gate open but recoiled in surprise as a jolt shot through his arm. Damn, I forgot about the seal. Naruto bit his thumb again before swiping it on the seal matrix that appeared on the gate. It glowed yellow for a while before lighting up in the green. Naruto scooped up Akane bridal style and kicked open the gate, which automatically closed and locked behind the pair as they entered the estate. Naruto admired the triple-story house as he carried Akane up to the second floor. The house was well maintained despite being empty for the past 12 years. Must have been some kind of seal either dear old dad or mom invented. Naruto thought as he walked past multiple rooms until he found the one he had been looking for, the master bedroom. What do you say we christen our new home Akane Heim? Naruto growled playfully as he deposited the demoness onto the king-sized bed. I say I like the way you think, Naru-kun. Akane smirked seductively as she dragged Naruto into a kiss and started removing his clothes. Life just got a whole lot better. Naruto thought with a grin. Come on Akane-chan, we wouldn't want to be late for the all-important team selections now would we? Naruto shouted sarcastically. Of course we wouldn't. Now how do I look? Akane asked as she came down the stairs and did a little twirl. She wore a crimson tank top with the kanji for Vixen on the front and tight black jeans. She wore black fingerless gloves with the left one reaching up to her elbow. Her hair fell freely down her back and she chose to tie her forehead protector around her left bicep instead. Just as beautiful, sexy and deadly as always. Naruto replied with a grin as he gave her a peck on the lips. He wore a form-fitting black t-shirt with a white laughing skull on the front and black jeans as well. He wore metal-plated black fingerless gloves and chose to tie his forehead protector around his left bicep as well. Ah, you always know what to say. Akane cooed as the couple left the Namikaze estate and made their way to the academy, where team selections were taking place. On the way there, both of them caused heads to turn as they walked down a street. The males were wondering who the beautiful and sexy redhead was while the females were discussing about the handsome and feral-looking blonde. I wonder how funny their reactions will be when they realize that I'm the demon brat and you're the Kyuubi no Yoko. Naruto whispered to his companion. Probably something involving mass panic and screaming about killing the demon brat and his whore. Akane snickered at the image in her mind. Well, I see the academy ahead. Shall we see what team we are on, my dear? Naruto grinned at the demoness. Why, I believe we should. Akane replied with a matching grin as they walked towards the academy. In Iruka's class, Iruka sighed as he watched his class interact with each other. He had no idea how 3/4 of the class were going to make it as a shinobi. Out of the entire class, he could only sort out a few that actually deserved and could make it as a shinobi. Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, Aburame Shino, Inazuka Kiba, and Uchiha Sasuke, that's about all, and even these few have some problems to sort out. Iruka frowned slightly. Shikamaru is a genius but is lazy like all the males of his clan. Choji is strong and talented but is too kind for his own good. Shino has to open up more. Kiba is too brash and headstrong, and Sasuke, well, I don't even know where to begin with him. Iruka glanced over the rest of the class. Haruno Sakura, extreme fangirl syndrome and only passed the test barely thanks to her book smarts and her mother being on the council, Iruka thought as he observed the pink-haired girl with an oversized forehead. Yamanaka Ino, falls into fangirl category as well, though much better than Sakura, has the potential to surpass her father if only she trained harder, Iruka thought as he looked at the blonde-haired girl. Hyuga Hinata, not a fangirl, okay, still a fangirl but of a different person, too shy and lacks confidence, also too kind for her own good. Iruka mused as he looked at the Hyuga heiress. I just hope their Junin senseis can knock their bad habits out of them. Oh well, time for an announcement. Iruka sighed as he discreetly performed hand seals under his desk. Shut up and get back to your seats. Iruka shouted using the demon head enlargement technique, causing the class to scramble for their seats and quiet down immediately. Alright class, today we have 2 extra participants in the team selections, and before you complain, they have been approved by Hokage-sama himself, so if you have a problem take it up with him. Iruka said, causing the few students that looked ready to protest to settle back down with a grumble. You two can come in now. The class looked at the door in silence as it slowly swung open and 2 students walked in. Almost the entire class blushed at the 2 figures that walked in. The males were staring, some were drooling, at the red-haired beauty that walked in, while the females were ogling, also some were drooling, at the handsome male. Class, I would like to introduce you to Uzumaki Naruto and Uzumaki Akane. Iruka announced before bracing himself. Nani? The entire class roared in shock and surprise. Well, everyone except Shino and Shikamaru, with the former just raising an eyebrow and the latter just being too lazy to care. Iruka-sensei, what is Naruto Baka doing here? He failed the genin exams, remember? Sakura screeched like the howler monkey she was descended from. Well, he passed a secret test made by Hokage-sama himself. Iruka was interrupted by Naruto himself. Mizuki was actually a traitor who used me to steal the forbidden scroll of seals from the Hokage tower, but I stopped him after I figured it out and the old man promoted me to genin for that. Naruto explained in one breath. Naruto Baka, stop lying. There's no way you could win against a chunin. Sakura moved to punch him, but Naruto merely yawned and sidestepped before grabbing her by the hair and throwing her across the room and into the back wall. Everyone gaped at him, not at his strength but for flinging his, Sakura-chan, across the room and into a wall. What Naruto said is true, and can someone please get Sakura out of the wall? Iruka sighed and rubbed his temple. The day had just started and he already felt a headache forming. Yo Naruto, you didn't tell me you had a super hot sister. Kiba shouted as he eyed Akane. Akane-chan isn't my sister. She is my mate, so stop eyeing her unless you want me to rip out your eyeballs and shove them up your. Naruto growled at him. Oh shit, sorry about that, man. Kiba apologized immediately because he was from the Inuzuka clan and they knew not to take another person's mate, especially a friend's. Mate, a timid voice squeaked out, causing the class to turn and look at the source, which turned out to be Hinata, who blushed from being the center of attention. Yes, my mate, as in my life companion, the person who I sleep with and eventually bear my children. Do I need to explain further? Naruto clarified. In no end, Naruto-kun H has a G girlfriend A and H he already s slept W with H her. Hinata felt tears threaten her vision as she rose from her seat and ran out of the room crying. Any more questions? Naruto asked as if nothing had happened. Naruto Baka, how dare you treat Hinata like that? She loved you since the academy started and you just dumped her aside. Sakura screeched, having forgotten that Naruto had flung her across the room. So? Naruto replied uncaringly. What do you mean so? Sakura screeched even louder, causing everyone to cover their ears in pain. First off, Haruno, stop screeching like a monkey or I swear I will rip out your vocal box and send you home to your stupid mother piece by piece. Naruto snarled as he glared at her and released a small amount of his killing intent at her. Sakura paled and gulped nervously but nodded her head. Good. Now I ask you why when I asked you for a date before, you never accept and hit me instead. Naruto looked at her intently. I love Sasuke-kun and I don't love you. Sakura stammered out, unsure if that would be the correct answer. Correct. So why should I accept her so-called love, when I don't love her back? More importantly, why didn't she tell me before? I'm sure everyone noticed that I am an orphan and how the villagers ignore me, so why didn't she offer me her companionship when I needed it, huh? Tell me, what kind of love is that? Naruto's voice turned demonic towards the end as he recalled all the times he was lonely and nobody was there to help him or comfort him. Calm down, Naru-kun, we don't want to scare the cute little genins. Akane whispered into his ear. Naruto took a deep breath and let his rage subside. Thanks, Akane-chan, let's go take a seat, shall we? Naruto walked to the back of the class and sat in the empty seat beside Shikamaru, and Akane just plopped down on his lap, causing many of the males in the class to grumble about lucky bastards. Yo Naruto, what's with the change? Shikamaru asked lazily as he lifted his head from the table slightly to turn and look at him. Felt like it, Naruto replied with a shrug. Oh, troublesome, Shikamaru mumbled as he went back to sleep while Naruto just ran his hands through Akane's hair as Iruka called out the different teams. He listened absent-mindedly. Team 7 will consist of Uchiha Sasuke, HN, Haruno Sakura, Cha true love prevails over all. Hey, no fair, Iruka-sensei. Why does forehead girl get to be with Sasuke-kun? Shut up. The teams were decided by Hokage-sama, so complain to him if you've got a problem. And the final member is Sai, your Junin sensei is Hatake Kakashi. Naruto looked around the room and spotted an extremely pale-skinned boy wearing tight-fitting clothes. He just couldn't help but comment. The brooding king of the emos, Banshee McFlatchest in a closet gay, damn I pity the poor sap that has to teach you. Naruto said with a grin causing Akane and the majority of the class to snicker. So says the failure of a ninja. Sasuke retorted with his signature smirk causing his fan club to swoon. Cha Sasuke-kun is right Naruto baka. Sakura stared at Sasuke with hearts for eyes. Shut up. Naruto stop antagonizing them, Iruka shouted. Whatever you say sensei. Naruto replied indifferently as he continued playing with Akane's hair, earning a grateful purr from said demoness. Team 8 will consist of Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame Shino and Hyuga Hinata. Your Junin sensei is Yuahi Kurenai. Will someone find Hinata and tell her? Team 9 is still active from last year, so Team 10 will be Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji and Yamanaka Ino. Your Junin sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. What? I get stuck with lazy boy and the fat kid. Ino shouted. I am not fat, just chubby. Troublesome. Shut up. Now Team 11 will consist of Uzumaki Naruto and Uzumaki Akane only. Your Junin sensei is Mitarashi Anko. Iruka said but was interrupted again by Sasuke this time. Hey, why does the Dobi get special treatment but I, Uchiha Sasuke an elite, don't? Sasuke demanded causing Naruto to snort in amusement. If the Uchiha clan is so great then where the are they? Oh that's right, your brother killed them all single-handedly, elites my. Naruto smirked at the look of rage that crossed Sasuke's face. How dare you speak of my clan in that manner? I'll show you the power of the Uchiha clan. Sasuke shouted as he ran through several hand seals. Kaden. Gukaku no Jutsu. Fire release. Grand fireball technique. Sasuke shot a huge ball of fire right at Naruto before Iruka could stop him. Naruto just held up one hand. Hado number 33, Sukatsui. Hado number 33, blue fire, crash down. Naruto whispered as head-sized ball of blue fire shot from his palm and impacted against the larger fireball and cancelled it out. Everyone in the class gaped again. They had just seen Naruto use an unknown technique without any hand seals and it managed to cancel out a Gukaku no Jutsu. Sasuke, stand down this instance or I will send you to Hokage-sama for attacking a fellow Konoha shinobi. Iruka shouted once he snapped out of his stupor causing Sasuke to sneer at him but sat back down. Now there is an hour interval before your Junin senseis arrive, so you can go get something to eat before reporting back to the academy. Sure thing sensei. Naruto grinned as he scooped up Akane bridal style and sank into a shadow portal. Shikamaru's eyes widened in surprise as he saw this but decided to question Naruto later. Hokage's office. The Junin senseis were gathered around the Sandame's crystal ball and had witnessed the entire scene take place. A few were muttering about the demon brat speaking bad about the Uchihas. Hokage-sama, it is clear that the demon brat is out to make trouble for Uchiha-sama. You should suspend his shinobi license immediately. A random Junin shouted. He will do no such thing. If anyone deserves to have their shinobi license revoked, it should be that Uchiha brat. A voice shouted from the back. Everyone turned around to see Anko leaning against the wall whilst biting on a dango stick. Ah Anko, I see you made it. Hiruzen smiled kindly at her. Whatever old man, so those two were the ones you told me about. Anko walked towards the crystal ball, which had paused at the scene of Naruto using an unknown attack. Yes, I trust you don't have any problems. Hiruzen asked. None at all. Now if you excuse me, I have to go greet my team. Anko smirked as she vanished in a swirl of leaves. The rest of the Junin except one filed out of the office. Kakashi, don't you have a team as well? Hiruzen looked at the tall, silver-haired masked Junin, who looked at the clock on the wall. Yes, but I still have 3 hours to go. Kakashi drawled lazily causing the old Hokage to sweat drop at the reply. Kakashi looked at him seriously with his exposed eye. Hokage-sama, why wasn't Uzumaki Naruto placed on my team even though I requested him? There are two reasons for me doing so, the first being something occurred on the night of Mizuki's betrayal that completely changed Naruto, as you would have noticed. And before you ask, I am not allowed to tell you what happened. The second reason is that both Naruto and Anko had lead difficult lives, and I hope that by placing them together, they will find something akin to comfort in each other. Hiruzen puffed on his pipe as he saw Kakashi think about it. While that is true, I wanted to train Minato-sensei's child, but instead you stuck me with, and I quote, the brooding king of the emos, Banshee McFlatchest in a closet gay. Kakashi shivered slightly at the last one. I understand how you feel, Kakashi, but the council has me overruled on the decision that you are to train the Uchiha, and you saw what would happen if Naruto is on the same team as him. Hiruzen gestured to the frozen image on the crystal ball. Besides, I want you to keep your eye on Sai. I believe that he is a member of Danzo's Root organization. Root, huh? What do you want me to do? Kakashi asked as he leaned against the wall behind him with his arms crossed in front of his chest. Just report any suspicious behavior and keep an eye on the Uchiha as well. Report to me if his conduct becomes too aggressive. Hiruzen said as he took another puff. Understood, Hokage-sama. Kakashi saluted before leaving via Shunshin. Back in the class, Naruto observed the rowdy class from his seat but groaned as Akane shifted in his lap. He grabbed her by the waist to stop her from making any unnecessary movements. Stop moving, Akane-chan, Naruto whispered into her ear. Fine, fun killer. Akane pouted, but Naruto just chuckled and turned her around so she was facing him and started a full-blown make-out session. The majority of the class watched with matching blushes as the couple continued, not paying them any attention. A few had different thoughts though. How dare that Dobi insult the might of the Uchihas? I have to find a way to pay him back. I know. I will take his girlfriend from him and her right in front of him. Besides, she is both beautiful and looks strong, a perfect candidate to revive the Uchiha clan with. Sasuke plotted within his own head. Stupid Naruto Baka insulting Sasuke-kun and his greatness. How dare he insult Sasuke-sama? We will beat him up, cha. Get back in your hole, you stupid split personality. Sakura argued with herself. That stupid bitch must have influenced my Naruto-kun into sleeping with her. Everyone knows that Naruto-kun belongs to me and I loved him way longer than that stupid red-haired slut. Hinata growled angrily inside her mind as she watched the two continue their makeout session. Troublesome, but could you two stop? The Junin senseis are about to arrive. The pair turned to a lightly blushing Shikamaru. Why? They asked in unison, causing Shikamaru to blink. Never mind, troublesome people. Shikamaru sighed as he placed his head back down on the desk just as the Junin senseis came in. Team 10, meet me at the barbecue restaurant in 10 minutes. A Junin with a beard and smoking a cigarette said before leaving the room. Team 8, meet me at training ground 16. A raven-haired, red-eyed beauty said, but before she could leave, a tan blur broke in through the window and a black banner unfurled. On the banner was written, "The sexy and single, Mitarashi Anko." And the tan blur revealed itself to be Anko indeed. Kurenai just sighed at her friend's antics before leaving the room. I want my team to meet me at the local dango shop in 5 minutes, and if you're not there within that time frame, you will have to pay for my meal. Anko laughed as she jumped out through another window and shattering it in the process. She seems like a nice woman. Akane broke the silence, causing everyone except Naruto to look at her as if she were mad. I think so too. Now let's get to that dango shop before I end up paying for her meal. Naruto said as the pair sunk into another shadow portal. Several seconds passed before Sakura realized something. Where the hell is our sensei? Dango shop. Anko appeared at the entrance of her favorite dango shop and walked in. She looked at the clock on the wall and saw that she had arrived in a minute. Should take them about another minute or so to get here. She mused before a familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. Yo, Anko-chan, what took you so long? Anko turned around to see that Naruto and Akane were already seated at a table, happily munching on their food, causing her to blink and stare. How the hell did you two get here before me? Anko asked as she sat down beside opposite the two. Trade secret. Naruto smirked at the pout on Anko's face before she shrugged and grabbed a stick of dango and bit into it. So the Junin Sensei handbook says that we have to get to know each other better. Tell me your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams. Anko explained and pointed at Akane to suggest that she start first. My name is Uzumaki Akane. My likes include foxes, Naru-kun, the color red and watching my enemies suffer. My dislikes include the Uchihas, their Keke Genkai and assholes. Hobbies are training in Naru-kun. Dreams for the future are to bear Naru-kun's children and kill a certain Uchiha. Akane growled the last part, causing Anko to grin at her likes, blush at her hobbies and looked confused at her dreams. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. My likes include Akane-chan, Shinigami, foxes, the color black, my sword and watching my enemies suffer. My dislikes are the similar to Akane-chan's plus the majority of the village. Hobbies are training in Akane-chan. Dreams for the future are to help Akane-chan accomplish hers, get a big family and meet the Shinigami. Naruto winked at Anko as he told her that he wanted a big family, causing her to blush slightly. Alright, my name is Mitarashi Anko. My likes include snakes, torturing people, blood, dango, sake and watching my enemies suffer. My dislikes include assholes, rapists, and my ex-sensei. Hobbies are torturing prisoners and eating dango. My dream is to kill my ex-sensei in the most painful and brutal way possible. Anko finished her introduction with a grin. I think we are going to get along just fine. Naruto smirked as Akane nodded her head in agreement. I think so too. Now I want you to meet me at Training Grounds 44 first thing tomorrow morning for a test. Anko told them as they left the shop and went their separate ways. Akane yawned as she walked with Naruto, who turned to her with a look of concern. You must be tired after today since you're still recovering your power. Why don't you head back and rest first since I have some things to do? Naruto told the fox demoness, who gave him a look of gratitude as she vanished in a swirl of flames. Naruto whistled as he walked down the street before suddenly flinging 3 kunai behind him. He turned around to see Konohamaru emerging from behind a large piece of paper painted to look like a fence. He, very impressive to have seen through my cover. It seems the rumors about you are true, Konohamaru said as he emerged from behind the paper. Great, him again. Naruto sighed inwardly as he recalled what had happened that caused them to cross paths. Flashback no jutsu. Yo old man, I'm here to submit mine and Akane-chan's shinobi registration forms. Naruto entered the Hokage's office through the window. Oh Naruto-kun, right on time, just hand them over for me to check. Hiruzen chuckled as he took the 2 slips of paper from him and read through them. At least your new attitude works better for your shinobi career. I swear you would have messed up your picture if you had your old attitude. I would have, but I'm not the old me anymore. Naruto replied seriously as he leaned against the wall beside the Hokage's desk. Right, everything seems to be in order except why does Akane have your surname? Hiruzen asked as he read through the sheet of paper again. Akane-chan doesn't have a surname, so I gave her mine since we are mates. Naruto shrugged. Won't that seem suspicious to your classmates? Hiruzen pointed out, to which Naruto just snorted. Like I give a damn what they think. Just pass me the headbands and I'll be on my way. Naruto walked over to the Hokage's desk and accepted the 2 headbands that the Sandaime took out of a drawer. However, the door busted open before he could leave and a young boy wearing a helmet ran into the room wielding a shuriken. Fight me, old geezer. The boy shouted but ended up tripping over his own scarf and falling on the floor, causing Naruto to burst into laughter and the Sandaime to tilt his hat to cover his embarrassment. Itai, who set a trap? The boy asked as he rubbed his helmeted head. At that moment a Junin wearing shades ran into the room. Are you alright? And there isn't a trap anywhere. The Junin shouted out before he noticed Naruto. The Kyuubi brat, how I despise him. I know. You are the one who set the trap. The boy exclaimed as he pointed at a laughing Naruto. You tripped over your own scarf, you moron. Naruto hoisted him up by his shirt. Hey, I demand that you let the honorable grandson of Hokage-sama go. The Junin shouted. So this is the Konohamaru you told me about, huh, old man? Naruto glanced between the Hokage and Konohamaru. Now that you know, let me go. Konohamaru struggled to break free but inwardly thought. Now that he knows who I am, he won't dare to hurt me. He's just like Ebisu and everyone else. You think I care? Naruto slapped Konohamaru upside the head, causing the young boy to clutch the spot in pain. He could be your freaking grandmother and it wouldn't make a damn difference to me. How dare you strike the honorable grandson? Ebisu shouted in outrage while the Sandaime sighed. Whatever, see you around, old man. Naruto jumped out the window at the end of his sentence. Konohamaru stared at the window whilst thinking. He's different than the rest. Flashback no Jutsu Kai. Hey, I'll make you my boss. Konohamaru's voice knocked him out of his recollection. Wah! Naruto blinked as he tried to process what the hell the kid was talking about. And in exchange, you have to teach me how to defeat Gramps. Konohamaru shouted in excitement. Listen kid, I have more important things to do than train you. Naruto growled impatiently. Shit, the signature has started to move closer towards the village. Come on please. Konohamaru begged on both knees. Fine. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Clone, I want you to teach him. Naruto pointed at Konohamaru, who had stars for eyes at seeing the jutsu, before he took off across the rooftops. Damn, where did that stupid signature go now? Naruto paused on a tree branch just outside of Konoha. Shit. Naruto leapt away from the tree as a huge white monster with a strange mask and a hole in its chest smashed into it. He backflipped in midair and landed on another tree branch. So this is a hollow. Damn, you're ugly. The hollow just got back up and roared at him. Black chakra circled around Naruto and enveloped him before dying down to reveal that he was wearing the outfit he had on the night of the Mizuki incident. Now let's see how much of a bad boy you really are. Naruto grinned as he drew his katana and twirled it around once before settling into a sword stance. The hollow roared and charged him on all fours. Naruto noted that it was surprisingly fast for a creature of its size. Naruto blocked a punch with his arms, but the force of the blow sent him crashing into a tree trunk. He coughed as he climbed out of the debris. Note to self, don't try that again. Naruto groaned. The hollow roared and tried long swiping attacks with its claws. Naruto dodged or parried the attacks with his katana. Naruto growled and switched into a different stance as the hollow charged him. Kororyu no Sume. Black Dragon's Claw. Naruto flashed past the hollow and sheathed his blade as the hollow dropped dead in two separate pieces. I have to thank the Shinigami for all those techniques just from absorbing a soul shard. Naruto grinned, but that slipped away as he suddenly realized that he was surrounded on all sides by 5 different hollows. He discreetly made a cross-shaped hand seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. And 5 clones emerged from the smoke and engaged each hollow as Naruto leapt back several paces and held up both his hands and started channeling his Ryutsu as he chanted. Sanzai Suru, Kimono no Hon. Sento, Kosho, Katetsu no Sharin. Yugokiba Kase, Tomariba Sora. Yariatsu Naro ga Kojo ni Michiru. Sprinkled on the bones of the beast. Sharp Tower, Red Crystal, Steel Ring. Move and become the wind, stop and become the calm. The sound of warring spears fills the empty castle. Naruto chanted as yellow Ryutsu formed an orb in his hands. Hado number 63, Reikoho. Thunder Roar Cannon. Naruto shouted as a massive blast of lightning shot out of his palms and into the group of hollows that were busy fighting his clones. The resulting explosion tore up the ground as the clones dispersed and Naruto watched as the Kido spell disintegrate the hollows. I have to practice using Ryutsu some more, that spell really took some effort. Naruto said as he panted slightly from using such a high-level Kido. He hopped down from the tree branch and started walking back to Konoha. I better get some rest since I have to fight Anko-chan tomorrow morning. Next day at Training Grounds 44 aka Forest of Death. Naruto yawned and stretched as he and Akane waited for their team's sensei to arrive. They didn't have to wait long as the tan blur known as Anko dropped down in front of them. I'm so glad my genin knows what it means to be on time, unlike a certain tardy Junin I happen to know. Anko mumbled the last part, causing Kakashi to sneeze somewhere in Konoha. So what sort of test are we doing today? Naruto asked. It's supposed to be sort of test that is testing your ability to work as a team, but looking at you two, I say you have no problems doing that. Anko replied with a wink, causing the pair to smirk. So I'm just going to test your skills in a 2-on-1 spar that ends when I call it. So whenever you're ready. Naruto vanished from the spot and appeared next to Anko, who blinked in surprise but quickly blocked the right hook that was aimed at her face. Akane dashed in and attempted a leg sweep, but Anko jumped over it and threw kick at Naruto, who blocked it with his free hand. Akane sent a snap kick at Anko's chin, but the snake mistress just tilted her head back slightly and grabbed her leg and threw her at Naruto. Naruto grunted and skidded back slightly as he caught Akane in his arms and placed her back on her feet. He looked back at Anko, who was smirking at them. You got to do better than that if you want to touch this lady. Anko taunted. Naruto just grinned as he shot at Anko and threw a barrage of kicks and punches at her, which she either evaded or blocked. Akane joined the fray and timed her punches and kicks with Naruto's own, so they alternated attacks. Finally, a fist from Naruto smashed into Anko's stomach, causing her to gasp and stumble back slightly. Much better. Now let's see some techniques. Anko smirked as she ran through several hand seals and slammed her palms into the ground, causing a seal matrix to appear. Kuchio's no jutsu. Summoning technique. A significantly large cloud of smoke filled the clearing. Naruto and Akane tensed as the smoke cleared to reveal a giant black and purple snake. The snake hissed and shot forward like a bolt of lightning. Naruto and Akane barely jumped out of the way in time. Damn, this snake is fast. Naruto commented as he flipped over another lightning-fast strike. Akane jumped into the air over the snake and finished her hand seals. Kaden. Genkyu. Fire release. Roaring flame sphere. Akane inhaled and shot out a meteor-sized fireball that slammed into the snake. The snake was pushed further into the ground before the sphere exploded in a huge explosion. Naruto whistled at the crater that had formed thanks to Akane's technique, while Anko just gaped. It was a freaking A-rank technique. Anko exclaimed before blocking a mid-air spinning kick from Naruto, who shifted his weight and twisted his body into a dropping axe kick. Anko blocked it with her other hand, but Naruto grinned as he whispered. Boom. Anko's eyes widened as she pushed away from the rapidly expanding clone, but the explosion still managed to hit her, sending her skidding and rolling across the forest floor. Anko coughed to get the smoke from her lungs and looked up to see Naruto and Akane running through two separate sets of hand seals. She didn't know what they were doing, but it couldn't hurt to be safe, so she started hand seals for a defensive ninjutsu. Kaden. Zukoku. Fire release. Intelligent hard work. Akane spat out a small compressed fireball. Futon. Atsugai. Wind release. Pressure damage. Naruto spat out a compressed sphere of wind chakra. Anko cursed as she tried to complete the hand seals as fast as possible as she saw the wind and fire techniques combine into a raging firestorm that raced towards her. Doden. Doryuheiki. Earth release. Earth-style wall. Anko slammed both palms onto the ground. A large stone wall erupted from the ground just in time to block the combination technique. Naruto and Akane watched from a tree branch as their combined techniques smashed into the stone wall. The firestorm split in half and traveled to either side of the wall. You think we overdid it with that? Naruto asked Akane, who just shrugged in reply. Senejishu. Hidden shadow snake hands. A voice called out from behind them, and the duo found their hands restrained to their bodies by snakes coiling around them. They turned around to see a grinning Anko leaning against a tree trunk with her hands extended towards them. Looks like I've caught you. Bakudo number 4. Hanawa. Crawling rope. Naruto's voice called out from behind her, and Anko found herself entangled by an energy rope before Naruto walked up behind her. No, it looks like I've caught you. Naruto whispered directly into her ear. Anko shivered slightly as his hot breath tickled her ear and looked back at the two she captured only for them to erupt in smoke. Kage Bunshin's alright, you two passed the test, so can you release the technique now? Anko asked him. What if I don't want to? Naruto replied teasingly as he hugged her from behind, causing her to blush slightly as she could feel his rock-hard muscles. Don't you already have a girlfriend? Anko gasped as Naruto kissed her neck. Akane-chan is my mate and she said that I am expected to have a harem. Naruto trailed off suggestively as Anko looked for Akane and found her eating a bucket of popcorn as she sat on a tree branch. Oh, did she now? And you thought I would be interested, why? Anko asked as she tried her best not to moan as Naruto caressed her body gently. Let's see, shall we? We both are hated for something we can't control. The villagers despise us and call us names. We both had our lives screwed over by a seal, and most importantly, we both know what it feels like to be abandoned and lonely. Need I say more? Naruto's words caused Anko to tear up as she remembered how Orochimaru had abandoned her and how the villagers called her the snake bitch, and the loneliness she felt as nobody trusted her. No matter how hard we try, there will always be doubt in their hearts, but I know how it feels like. The stares, the whispers behind your back, the disgust in their eyes. Naruto released the binding spell, but his words had taken effect already as Anko clenched her fists as tears rolled down her face. Why don't they accept me? I tried so hard to prove my loyalty, Anko whispered softly as Naruto gently stroked her hair in a calming motion. It's alright, Anko-chan, who needs their approval? I accept you for who you are. I don't see you as Orochimaru's ex-student or the snake bitch, but as Mitarashi Anko, a beautiful and deadly kunoichi. Naruto said in a loving manner. Wow, Naru-kun could really get a side career in acting. Ooh, he's going in for the kill. Akane thought as she munched on her popcorn. And if that doesn't convince you, I can always remove this little seal from you. Naruto rubbed the spot where her cursed seal was, causing Anko to gasp. Why, you can really do that? Anko asked with hope in her eyes. Of course I can, Naruto replied. Please, remove it. I'll do anything. I'll be your slave. You can me whenever you want, but please, just remove it. Anko pleaded. All I want is for you to accept my offer of being my next mate. Naruto tilted her head up and she looked into his slitted amethyst pupils. I accept, Naruto-kun, Anko whispered, causing Naruto to smile as he leaned down slightly and captured her lips in a kiss. Good, now this might sting a bit, Naruto told her as he channeled his Yuki into his fangs and bit down onto her cursed seal and started draining the soul shard of Orochimaru out of it. Naruto pulled his fangs out and spat into the grass and watched as the cursed seal slowly fade and finally disappeared. It's gone. Arigato, Naruto-kun. Anko embraced him as tears of joy ran down her face. I'm finally free of my burden, thank you so much. Shish, it's alright, Anko-chan. You have to report to the Hokage soon about the test, come on. Naruto smiled as Anko wiped away her tears with her sleeve. That's my girl. Hokage's office 5 minutes later. Sarutobi Hiruzen puffed on his pipe as he looked over the Junin that have once again gathered inside his office. They had just returned from testing their team and Kakashi was surprisingly on time for once. Alright, I want your reports on your team. The Sandame ordered. Team 1 failed, they were practically useless. Genma reported. Team 2 failed, they spent the entire time arguing instead of finding me. Aoba said. Team 3 failed, they have no concept of teamwork at all. Hayate coughed. The Hokage listened as the Junin senseis of teams 4 to 6 all reported failures, and finally everyone tensed as Kakashi stepped forward. Team 7 passed, albeit reluctantly. Kakashi sighed. Mind elaborating on that? Hiruzen asked. Well, where to begin? Sasuke is a revenge-driven, egoistic, arrogant genin who expects everyone to bow to the might of the Uchiha clan. Sakura is his useless lapdog that has no skills whatsoever and only fawns over the Uchiha 24/7. They only passed because Sai gave Sakura some of his lunch after she was tied to the training post. Kakashi explained. Very well, please proceed, Kurenai-san. Hiruzen told the Genjutsu mistress. Team 8 passed, they could use a little work though. Kurenai replied. Team 10 passed, they may not get along outside of combat but when in battle they work just as well as their fathers. Asuma told his father. Team 11 passed with flying colors. Anko smirked at the curious looks on her friends and the Hokage's faces. What did your team do to warrant such praise? Hiruzen asked. He knew about it but he couldn't let them know that he knew about Naruto. First off, I ranked their taijutsu at about high chunin to low junin rank and their teamwork is superb. Both showed they could perform B-rank ninjutsu while Akane did an A-rank technique. They also combined a wind and fire technique that created a huge firestorm. Naruto was able to capture me with an unknown binding technique that ended the test. Anko recounted, causing several different reactions in the room. I would expect nothing less from the new Naruto and Kyuubi. Hiruzen smiled slightly behind his hands that he used to cover his mouth. I'm glad that Sensei's son is already so strong but I thought the academy records listed him as dead last. How did he change so much over a few days? Oh well, that isn't for me to wonder, at least he got himself a hot girlfriend. Kakashi released a perverted giggle inside his head. Ha, the snake bitch must have felt sorry for the demon brat so she made up that story. We all know that the demon brat was dead last in the academy. A random Junin voiced his opinion, causing several killing intents to be aimed at him, and Anko held a kunai that was pointed at his groin. You can insult me but the moment you insult my genin is when you have crossed the line, so I recommend you think before you open your mouth lest you lose something important next time. Anko hissed with narrowed eyes at the man, who nodded vigorously in fear of his privates. When did Ko-chan get so overprotective over some genin, the resident Jinchuriki no less? Kurenai mused as she saw her friend's strange behavior. I knew placing Naruto and her together would have positive results. The Hokage chuckled to himself. Thank you all for your reports, please report first thing tomorrow morning with your genin squad to collect your first mission. Hiruzen dismissed the gathered Junin. With Naruto, Akane and Anko. So how did the meeting go, Anko-chan? Naruto asked the snake mistress in the tree beside them, causing her to pout and jump down in front of them. How did you know I was there? Anko asked. Enhanced senses. Naruto tapped his nose with a smirk. So how was it? It was alright. Some punk insulted you so I threatened him with a kunai to his goods, but everything else was alright. Anko chuckled at the memory, causing Naruto and Akane to sweat drop. So who else passed their tests? Naruto asked. Kakashi's team passed barely, Nai-chan's team and Asuma's team. Anko listed off. I sort of hoped that the Uchiha would fail. Akane sighed. Guess you can't always get what you want. Cheer up, Akane-chan, look at it this way, now the Uchiha has a higher rate of dying on his missions. Naruto smirked as a grin crept onto Akane's face. Oh, speaking of missions, old man Hokage asked us to report in tomorrow morning for our first mission. Anko informed them. We're not going to do those D-rank missions, are we? Naruto's eyebrow twitched at the thought of painting a fence or chasing after some stupid cat. Hey, who do you think I am? Mitarashi. Anko will never do D-ranks and neither will her awesome team. Anko pumped her fist into the air, causing Naruto to chuckle and Akane to giggle. Hey Anko-chan, how is the place you're staying at? Naruto asked seriously, causing Anko to flinch slightly, but that was all Naruto needed to see. Pack your stuff. You're coming to leave with Akane and me at the estate. Estate? Anko echoed. Oh right, I haven't told you yet. Naruto sighed as he began his narration of the events that had transpired the night of the Mizuki betrayal all the way till the moment they met her, including how he was no longer human and half demon, half Shinigami. Now that you know all that, does it change your opinion about me? Is what you said in the afternoon true? Anko asked softly. Yes, every word, Naruto replied before Anko pulled him into a kiss. Then nothing has changed between us, my loyalty is now to you, not to this village. Anko spat out the word like it was poison. Thanks Anko-chan. Naruto smiled genuinely at the snake mistress. He may be a demon, but even a demon needs love. Now go pack your bags and meet me outside the Namikaze estate in half an hour's time. Half an hour later, Anko gaped at the interior of the Namikaze house. It looked more like a daimyo's royal palace than a house. Naruto had informed her that Akane was asleep already as he helped her place her bags in the master bedroom as well. Aren't you and Akane already using the room? Anko pointed out. The room is big enough for us to share and so is the bed, so why should I let you sleep alone? Naruto answered honestly, which caused Anko's already blossoming love for him to increase further. And don't worry about anyone breaking in or anything of that sort, since only people I have keyed into the seal are allowed to enter the premises. Wait, if there was a blood seal and you were no longer human, then how did you activate the seal as well as the one on the Yondaime's picture? Anko asked as she realized it. Very astute of you, Anko-chan. I simply used my Yuki to overload the seal matrix and caused it to reset to my new DNA signature. Something as simple as that is child's play to me. Naruto smirked as Anko shrugged. Naruto let Anko use the shower as he took off his clothes, leaving only his boxers, and plopped down next to Akane. Anko came out in a black nightgown and crawled into bed beside Naruto and snuggled into his right arm as Akane took his left, before they drifted off to sleep. Naruto woke up to the pleasant feeling of two sets of being pressed into both of his arms. He looked to either side and found Anko and Akane still snuggling into his arms. He didn't want to wake them up yet, so he performed a sealess kawarimi substitution with a pillow that had been carelessly discarded on the floor. Naruto yawned as he stretched his arms and back before walking into the bathroom. He paused mid-stride and looked at his own reflection in the mirror. Damn, I sure look different since the fusing, Naruto mused as his slitted amethyst pupils stared back at him instead of his original sky blue pupils. He threw off his shirt and smiled, since his body, which had been skinny and malnourished, had buffed up thanks to absorbing Akane's Yuki. Naruto splashed some water onto his face and stepped into the shower. He sighed contentedly as the hot water splashed against his skin and trailed down his body. I never would have known the comfort of a hot shower if I had stayed in that rundown apartment. Stupid landlord sabotaging the water heater. At least things have been looking up since the fusion. Naruto thought before a small smile crept onto his face as his thoughts drifted to the two women on his bed. To have two beautiful women beside me, I must be the luckiest GU demon alive, or half alive at any rate. Naruto stepped out of the shower and toweled his black-streaked blonde hair dry before changing. He walked back into the bedroom to see Anko and Akane smothering the pillow between their cleavages. That has to be the luckiest pillow in the world, Naruto thought with a snicker before creating a Kage Bunshin and kissed both of his mates on the lips until they woke up. Rise and shine, ladies, we have to report into the old man's office in half an hour. With some muted grumbling and cursing, both of them crawled out of bed reluctantly and took turns using the shower while Naruto went down to the kitchen. Hey, what's that smell? Anko asked the demoness walking down the stairs beside her. Oh, that's just Naru-kun fixing breakfast. He picked up cooking surprisingly well. Akane replied as they both entered the kitchen to see Naruto setting 3 plates on the table and a stack of pancakes in the middle. Morning, ladies, eat up quickly since we have an appointment, Naruto said as the trio sat down and ate their breakfast with a few snatches of conversation here and there. Naruto created several clones to deal with the dishes as Naruto grabbed both their shoulders and shadow walked them into the Hokage's office. Team 11, you're the first to arrive, so you have first pick of the mission. You can walk the Inuzuka's dogs, mow a law, paint a fence, catch Tora. The Sandame was interrupted before he could go further. Old man, I swear if you give us any of those chores you call D ranks that I will kill the person who requested them and use their corpse for my kenjutsu practice. Naruto chucked darkly, which both Akane and Anko thought was a slight turn on for them. How about AC rank instead? Hiruzen asked, since he didn't want to be held accountable for the deaths of civilians and the fact that he knew this team could handle it. Now you're talking. Naruto accepted the mission scroll and left with his 2 mates via shadow portal. leaving an indifferent Sandaime and a confused Iruka. Are you sure it was wise to give a rookie team AC rank Hokage-sama? Iruka asked. Iruka, Anko is a Junin, Akane was the Kyuubi and Naruto is half demon and half Shinigami. Are you seriously telling me they can't handle AC rank? Hiruzen replied, causing Iruka to chuckle nervously and scratch the back of his head in embarrassment. With Naruto in company, so what does the mission scroll say, Naru-kun? Akane asked as they gathered around the dining table since Naruto had shadow walked them back to the estate. It says to eliminate a bandit camp that had been spotted along a popular merchant's trading route and have been harassing the traders. Naruto read aloud from the scroll. Bandit elimination, the most common C-rank mission also known as misplaced aggression mission. Anko snickered at the curious looks on her team's faces. Misplaced aggression mission, Naruto lifted an eyebrow. Yup, if a Junin had a bad day or is in a foul mood, they would take this mission to release their anger upon the unsuspecting bandits. Anko explained with a grin. Oh, sounds fun. Akane smirked as they went their separate ways to prepare the items needed for the mission. Konoha's gate. Naruto stopped at the gate and looked around before realizing that he was the first one to arrive. He shrugged and just settled for waiting. Not much later he spotted Akane and Anko walking towards the gate. He noticed that Akane had a katana sheathed at her waist as well. I didn't know you had a Zanpakuto as well. Naruto commented as they came within hearing range. I do, but never really had a chance to use it very often, you know, due to being sealed up and all. Akane glanced down at her katana. I thought only the Shinigami and people with Shinigami's power could have a Zanpakuto. Anko asked in confusion. Not entirely true. A Zanpakuto is a manifestation of your spiritual powers, so technically anyone who trains their Ryutsu enough will be able to acquire one. Naruto explained. So if I train this Ryutsu thing, I can get a cool sword too? Anko asked excitedly. I guess so. Ryutsu is basically the spiritual half of chakra and is denser and more potent than it. This makes it harder to manipulate and control, but the results are much more efficient in comparison. Naruto scratched his chin in thought. I'll see if there is any way you can tap into your Ryutsu safely. If that works out, then we'll work from there. Fair enough. Now let's go kill us some bandits. Anko vanished in a blur of speed, quickly followed by Naruto and Akane in the direction of the bandit camp. An hour later, Naruto was crouched on a tree branch several meters of the ground as he observed the bandits milling about in the clearing they had set up camp in. He looked around and saw Anko and Akane crouched on their own branches. Anko looked over to him and used ninja sign language to tell him to proceed with the plan. As if charging in and killing everyone could be called a plan. Naruto chuckled to himself as he leapt down into the middle of the camp with Anko and Akane beside him. What the? One bandit exclaimed in surprise at the three figures that suddenly landed in the middle of their camp. Who the are they? Another bandit asked. Who are we, you say? Well, that's simple, we are your death. Naruto grinned as the three of them split up to deal with the bandits. He channeled Yuki into his hands, causing his claws to lengthen. You filth are not even worthy to die by my blade, so you will have to settle for my hands instead. Naruto dashed straight at a bandit and sent a Yuki-enhanced punch straight at his head, completely punching it off his neck, causing a fountain of blood to spray out. Naruto chuckled darkly as he licked the blood of his hand, causing the bandits that had surrounded him to shiver involuntarily at the act. Disgusting blood, now who's next? Naruto looked up and the bandits saw his slitted amethyst pupils glowing with demonic power. Naruto blocked a sword strike with his bare hand and yanked on the blade so forcefully that the bandit's arms tore off at the elbows. Naruto grinned as he picked up one of the man's severed hands and slapped him with it continuously. Why are you hitting yourself? The rest of the bandits charged him together, hoping to overwhelm the psychopath in their midst, but alas, that was not to be. Naruto just grabbed the bandit's head and ripped it clean off before throwing it right at another bandit and impacted him right in the jewels. Naruto stumbled forward slightly as he noticed several blades sticking out of his body. Oh, that tickles. The bandits watched in fear as Naruto just pulled out the swords and the wounds close up right before their eyes. Naruto flicked the sword in the direction of a stunned bandit. The sword stabbed him right through the head and the momentum ripped it off and pinned it to the tree trunk behind him. The remaining bandits screamed in fear as they dropped their weapons and tried to escape. Oh, none of that escaping shit for you. Chiniku no Kamen, Bansho, Habataki, Hito no na o Kansu mano yo. Soka no Kabe ni Sora no Kizamu, Taika no Fuchi o Enten ni Te Matsu. Ye Lord, mask of blood and flesh, all creation, flutter of wings, ye who bears the name of man. On the wall of blue flame, inscribe a twin lotus. In the abyss of conflagration, wait at the far heavens. Naruto chanted as blue spiritual energy gathered around both his palms and he pointed each palm at the two separate groups of fleeing bandits with a grin. Hado number 73, Soren Sokatsui. Twin lotus blue fire, crash down. Naruto roared as two beams of blue flames impacted into each bandit group. He watched with a grin as they slowly were incinerated by the blue flames. Naruto dusted off his hands and turned around to see a blood-soaked Anko and Akane approaching him. Seems like you two had fun as well. Damn straight, I haven't let loose like this for Kami knows how long. Akane shouted happily. No better way to start the day than soaking in the blood of your enemies. Anko sighed contently. Now let's go report back and get our mission payment. Hokage's office. The trio of blood-soaked shinobi emerged out of a portal in the middle of the Hokage's office a few minutes after eliminating the bandits. The Sandaime looked up and blinked. Something tells me that asking you what happened is going to give me a headache, so just take the payment and go clean up. Hiruzen sighed as he tried his best to ignore the blood that started pooling on the wooden floor. Right. I was wondering if we could have another mission. Naruto scratched his head sheepishly. Another mission? You just completed your first C rank. Hiruzen almost choked on his pipe at the request. It was kind of easy and we don't have anything to do for the remainder of the day. Naruto trailed off in thought. I could just Akane. I like the sound of that. Akane purred as she rubbed her cleavage against Naruto's arm. I know. We can include Anko-chan and make it a threesome. That's an idea. Naruto mused as Anko blushed at the images in her mind while the Sandaime had been blown back by a nosebleed at the conversation topic. Here, take this mission. Hiruzen threw a mission scroll at them, which they took with a grin and left, causing the old man to sigh in relief. If they stayed in here any longer I might have died of blood loss. Speaking of blood. Someone get in here and clean that puddle of blood on the floor. Namikaze Estate. The three had met up again after taking a quick shower and changing out of their blood-soaked clothes. They were clustered around the dining table again. So what's the mission now, Naruto-kun? Anko asked as she tied her hair back into its pineapple-styled ponytail. Another C rank, this time concerning mysterious deaths near the forest surrounding a village to the west of Konoha. The bodies that had been found looked like they had been eaten. Naruto stopped reading as he spun on his heel and started walking towards the door. I will handle this mission myself. What? We are a team and… Anko's protest was cut short. I know. However, this is something I can fight thanks to having Shinigami powers. The culprit is a creature known as a hollow. I will go into a more in-depth explanation when I return. For now you just have to know that only I am able to see these creatures. Naruto said before sinking into a shadow portal. An hour later, Naruto had just finished his discussion with the village chief, who had explained to him about their situation regarding the deaths, and Naruto had assured him that he would take care of it. Naruto walked through the forest with his Zanpakuto at his waist. He was using his enhanced senses to keep a lookout. Eating human souls directly, this hollow must either be really brave or extremely foolish, Naruto thought before a deep rumbling laughter filled the forest. Ha ha ha, what's this now? A human with Shinigami powers, now that is a strange sight indeed. The voice boomed. Only half right, I am a demon with Shinigami powers. Naruto growled as his voice took a demonic edge again. Oh ho, a demon you say? Well, little demon, let me introduce myself. My name is Tigero. A large humanoid-shaped figure dropped down from a tree branch and landed gracefully despite being 1 story tall. Naruto noticed that its mask had tiger-like markings on it and the jaw section could unlatch and was filled with sharp teeth. "So you're the one responsible for the deaths of the people in the village?" Naruto asked. "I might be, what's it to you?" Taigoro replied. "Well, I've been paid to eliminate whatever is doing that, so." Naruto allowed the hollow to figure the rest out himself. "Ah, I see. Well, let's see what a demonic Shinigami tastes like." Taigoro roared as he leapt at Naruto and attempted to swipe him with his sharp claws. Naruto sprang back from the tiger-like hollow, but Taigoro kept up the relentless assault as he leapt after Naruto whilst slashing away with his claws. Naruto flipped over a claw swipe and landed on Taigoro's outstretched right arm before aiming a palm at his mask. Hado number 31, Shakuho. Red Flame Cannon. Naruto shot a ball of crimson spiritual energy straight at Taigoro's mask, resulting in a fiery explosion that knocked the large hollow back slightly with his face smoking. "I'm still not that well versed in Kido. Without the incantation my spells aren't at max power, but this guy is too fast." "Is that the best you got, boy?" Taigoro roared as he rushed at Naruto out of the smoke, his mask slightly singed but otherwise fine. Naruto drew his Zanpakuto and deflected the first few attacks launched at him before he braced himself and snapped a kick that connected with Taigoro's chest and knocked him away slightly. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto created 6 shadow clones and had them attack Taigoro, who was surprised to see multiple copies of his enemy. Naruto grinned at the distraction as he began drawing on his spiritual energy into his palm. Sanzai Suru, Kimono no Hon. Sento, Kosho, Katetsu no Sharon. Yugokiba Kase, Tomariba Sora. Yariatsu Naro ga Kojo ni Michiru. Sprinkled on the bones of the beast. Sharp Tower, Red Crystal, Steel Ring. Move and become the wind, stop and become the calm. The sound of warring spears fills the empty castle. Naruto chanted as yellow spiritual energy enveloped his entire right fist in an orb of electricity. Hado number 63, Reikoho. Thunder Roar Cannon. Naruto shouted as a concentrated blast of energy shot towards Taigoro and impacted against his chest before exploding in a thunderous roar. "You're better than I expected, boy." Taigoro coughed as he pulled himself out of the small crater only to see Naruto vanish in a blur of speed from the tree branch and reappear beside him. "How? Shunpo. Flash Step," Naruto whispered with a chuckle as he extended his index and middle fingers from a closed fist, forming a gun-like shape and pointing it at the back of Taigoro's head. "Bye-bye." Hado number 4, Byakurai. White Lightning. A concentrated beam of bluish-white lightning shot from his fingertips and through Taigoro's head and mask. Naruto watched as the hollow collapse on the floor and disintegrate. "Well, that was interesting." Hokage's office. "Naruto, I would appreciate it if you would actually enter my office using the door sometimes." Hiruzen sighed as he looked up from his paperwork to see Naruto standing there. "I'll use it when I feel like it." On a more serious note, Naruto placed the mission scroll on the Hokage's desk. "I want you to promise me that if any more missions like this one come up that you will give them to me." "For what reason do you want to do these kinds of missions?" Hiruzen asked, bewildered as he looked at the mission scroll again. "The creatures that are behind these disappearances are known as hollows. They can only be seen by people with Shinigami-like powers, so I am the only one who can accomplish these missions." Naruto replied seriously. "Fine, if any of such missions do appear again, I will hand them to you directly." On another topic, what techniques did you use against Anko and in your missions? Hiruzen puffed on his pipe. "Those can only be performed by Shinigami, so there is no point in explaining about them, see ya." Naruto waved as he leapt out the window and vanished in a blur of speed. Namikaze Estate. "I'm back," Naruto called out as he walked through the front door and was immediately tackled to the floor by a tan blur, which revealed itself to be Anko straddling his stomach. "Start explaining, mister," Anko demanded. "I will once you get off my stomach." Naruto deadpanned as Anko pouted but jumped off and helped Naruto to get up. "Please get Akane-chan and meet me in the living room." Naruto watched as Anko nodded and went off to find Akane. He sighed as he mentally prepared himself for a long explanation about hollows. Okay, now that we're all here, hollows are a race of creatures which are born from human souls who, for various reasons, do not cross over to the afterlife after their death and stay in the human world for too long. They are corrupt spirits with supernatural powers that devour the souls of both living and deceased humans. Naruto explained slowly to make sure the two women understood. Hollows are former pluses, deceased human souls that lose their hearts to despair or remain in the real world for too long. The majority of ghosts peacefully move on to the afterlife after their deaths. Some, however, stay in the living world to fulfill certain goals, such as looking after a loved one, protecting a particular location, or pursuing a grudge from beyond the grave. However, with only limited abilities to interact with the living, and by definition tied to their goals, many ghosts find they are unable to cope when their loved ones move on or old enemies forget them. At this point, some will become dangerously obsessed with fulfilling those goals, even if the means to fulfill them renders the soul empty. For example, killing anyone who comes near a loved one, in order to keep them from hurting that person. In doing so, the ghost warps into a hollow and, ironically, often makes the focus of their obsession into their first victim. Naruto repeated word for word from the memories he gained from the Shinigami's soul shard. That's a lot to take in, so technically anyone can become a hollow? Anko asked, to which Naruto nodded solemnly. Damn that, they are dangerous and can only be seen by people with high spiritual powers, such as myself. That's why I don't want you two to accompany me on missions regarding hollows. Naruto told them, I guess you're right, it's just that I'm the Kyuubi no Yoko yet. Akane clenched her fists but Naruto just drew her into a hug. Well, look at it this way, we all have abilities that make us special, so mine just happens to involve hollows. Naruto comforted her but a pecking at the window drew his attention. He opened the window and a messenger bird landed on his hand. Naruto opened the small scroll that the bird had been carrying and read the note. Naruto, please report to my office immediately. We have a situation concerning those hollows you told me about. Sandame Hokage. Shit. Sorry girls, but the old man just sent me a message concerning hollows. Naruto said as he sunk into a shadow portal. Be careful, Naruto, Akane whispered softly, but Anko managed to catch. Hey, only wanting him for his power. Doesn't look like it. Anko smirked inwardly at the thought. Hokage's office, again. Yo old man, what's this about hollows? Naruto asked as he rose out of a shadow. Ah, Naruto, you're here. A team of Chunins I sent out on a mission just returned with only 2 of the original 4 members alive. They claim to have been attacked by an invisible creature on their way back from the mission. I want you to investigate this. Hiruzen stated, to which Naruto nodded. Where did this happen? Naruto asked. The team's report stated that the incident occurred near the deserted forest. They had been taking a break when one of their members was suddenly dragged away by an invisible foe. Hiruzen read from a piece of paper. I see, alright, I'll check it out. Naruto sunk back into a shadow portal that formed below his feet. Deserted forest. Naruto emerged from a shadow of a tree carefully and surveyed his surroundings. He noted the furrow marks and damaged trees that indicated signs of a struggle. Naruto crouched down next to a deep furrow and noticed that it was deeper towards the south, signifying that the target had been dragged north. Must be a feral hollow and pretty desperate to attack living humans that were grouped together. Naruto deduced as he followed the trail. He briefly sensed a flare of hollow energy signature, but it vanished as soon as it appeared. He frowned at the weird phenomenon. Naruto suddenly rolled to the right as a tentacle smashed into the ground where he had been previously. He came up in a crouch and looked up. A hollow with a squid-like mask was crouched on a tree branch and staring down at him with its yellow slit-like eyes. It had a humanoid upper torso but 4 tentacles for legs and 2 more for arms. Man, you're one ugly. Naruto smirked, but his mind was working out why he hadn't sensed the hollow earlier. I should be able to sense its presence, but all I'm reading is a void, that's it. This hollow's ability is to mask its spiritual signature, so that's why I sensed a flare before it disappeared. The squid-like hollow roared and retracted its tentacle before lashing out with it in a vertical swipe that Naruto easily sidestepped before jumping over a horizontal tentacle swipe. Naruto flash-stepped beside the hollow but quickly backpedaled when the hollow blew out a dark purple mist from its mosque's mouth slit. Talk about breath problems, Naruto muttered as he ran through a few hand seals and took a deep breath. Futon. Daitapa. Wind release. Great breakthrough. Naruto exhaled a huge blast of wind that efficiently dispersed the poison mist that had been creeping up on him and further slammed the hollow into the tree trunk behind it. The wood shattered under the impact as the hollow continued its trajectory and smashed into the sandy ground. Naruto didn't waste the chance as he ran through more hand seals. Futon. Atsugai. Wind release. Pressure damage. Naruto shot out a condensed sphere of wind chakra that impacted onto the ground and erupted into a fierce dome of hurricane-speed winds. Naruto stared into the smoke before flash-stepping to the side as a tentacle shot straight through the spot he had previously occupied. Naruto frowned as he saw that the hollow only had minor scrapes and bruises. An attack of that caliber should have at least wounded him unless, it seems that hollows can only be hurt by Zanpakutos and Kido only. Naruto mused as he created 2 Kage Bushins and sent them to flank the hollow. The hollow swiped at a clone with its tentacle and connected, but the clone just dispersed in a poof of smoke. While the remaining clone distracted the squid-like hollow, Naruto held up his right palm facing the hollow. Kunrinsha yo, Chiniku no Kamen, Bansho, Habataki, Hito no na o Kansu mano yo. Shonetsu to Soren, Yumahi date Sakamaki minami e to ho o susum yo. Ye Lord, mask of blood and flesh, all creation, flutter of wings, ye who bears the name of man. Inferno and pandemonium, the sea barrier surges, march on to the south. Naruto chanted as red spiritual energy gathered into an orb of crimson energy. Hado number 31, Shakuho. Red fire cannon. Naruto released the spell in a wide beam of crimson energy that smashed directly into the hollow. It screamed out in pain as its body started burning and eventually only a pile of ash remained. Damn, I hope there aren't any more hollow appearances today. Expending this much Ryutsu is tiring me out. Naruto panted slightly as he walked back to the village to report his success in eliminating the hollow. 15 minutes later, the Sandaime waved off Team 7 that had just succeeded in accomplishing their first D-rank mission, capturing Tora the cat. He chuckled inwardly as he remembered how torn up they looked as they entered the office. A cough interrupted his thoughts. I have dealt with the hollow at the deserted forest. Naruto crossed his arms as he stared at the Hokage. Very good Naruto-kun, take this as payment for a successful C-rank completion. Hiruzen tossed him a bag of coins, which he caught. If that's all, I'm heading back now. Naruto leapt out the office window causing the Hokage to sigh. Someday Naruto, I don't know when but someday I will find a way to force you to use my office door. Hiruzen vowed. Namikaze Estate. Naruto walked through the front door and collapsed face first into the couch in the living room with a tired sigh causing Akane, who had been training, to walk over. It's rare to see you this tired. Akane gestured to his prone form as Naruto rolled over so he was facing skywards. It's because expending Ryutsu is different than using chakra. I have an unlimited supply of Yuki so I can't get exhausted, but Ryutsu is another thing completely. Plus I discovered that the hollows can only be hurt by a Zanpakuto or Kido spells, meaning ninjutsu is ineffective against them. Naruto groaned. Speaking of Ryutsu, Anko has been wondering when you were going to test out her Ryutsu training with her. Akane told him, I'll get on it when I don't feel like I have an Akamichi sitting on my back. Where is Anko-chan anyway? Naruto asked, causing Akane to shrug. Not sure. Just told me that she has to go meet Kurenai-san at the Dango bar for some reason. Akane replied before helping Naruto upright. Come on, let's get you to bed. Naruto made his way to the bedroom with Akane's help and fell back onto the comfortable mattress with a content sigh. Akane giggled and tucked him in before leaving the room. Akane grabbed her zanpakuto and placed it on her lap before she started meditating. Akane's zanpakuto's inner world. Akane opened her eyes to find herself in a throne room with a flame motif. A woman dressed like a queen with flowing fire for hair sat on the throne. "Hello Akane. Long time no see, do you still remember my name?" Her zanpakuto spirit asked. "Of course," Akane smirked. "Good, I would have been most upset had you forgotten it." The spirit replied, "For what reason have you come in here?" "I want to be able to help Naru-kun fight against these hollows," Akane said with determination. "So basically, you don't want to feel useless?" The spirit replied, "Yes." Akane whispered softly, but her zanpakuto heard it nonetheless. "I don't see how I can help you there except lend you my aid when possible." The spirit crossed her arms. "That is all I ask," Akane replied before fading away. With Anko. "So Nai-chan, how's your team been doing so far?" Anko asked the genjutsu mistress as she bit into another piece of dango. "Pretty decent so far. Kiba is too reckless and often charges into a situation before thinking. Shino has to open up more to us while Hinata," Kurenai sighed. "Hinata what?" Anko lifted an eyebrow curiously. "Well, she is still as shy as always and stutters a lot but has been showing strange behavior, especially when Kiba mentions that new girl on your team." Kurenai replied worriedly. "Uzumaki Akane," Anko offered, to which Kurenai nodded. "Hinata seems to often mumble to herself when Akane is mentioned. I once heard the word, bitch, and also, stealing what's mine, in her random mumblings." Kurenai looked into her empty cup. "Duh, she's obviously jealous that Akane got to Naruto first." Anko rolled her eyes. "I know, she has had a crush on him since they were kids." "I can't believe he never noticed it," Kurenai exclaimed. "He wasn't exactly very bright before the Mizuki incident took place." Anko snickered. "I guess, since you're his sensei, could you ask him to give Hinata a chance?" Kurenai asked hopefully. "Not a chance in hell," Anko replied furiously. "You heard his explanation in the classroom. She didn't bother to help him out when he needed it, so too bad for her." Kurenai stared after her friend in mild shock as she stormed out of the bar, all the while wondering why her friend had reacted in such a manner. "How dare she tell me to ask Naruto-kun to give that creepy pale-eyed stalked a chance?" Anko ranted inside her head as she walked down the street. "Yo Anko," a lazy voice drawled, causing her to look around until her eyes rested upon Kakashi, who was reading his stupid book as usual. "What do you want, Kakashi?" Anko asked irritably. "Wow, didn't someone wake up on the wrong side of the bed this morning?" Kakashi replied with his signature eye smile. "Stop wasting my time and spit it out." Anko scowled. "Geez, fine, I want you to hand this scroll to Naruto. Just tell him it's from me." Kakashi handed her an ordinary sealing scroll. "What's inside it?" Anko eyed the scroll suspiciously. "Nothing bad, just a jutsu that I believe he should learn." "Ya nay." Kakashi waved as he walked away. Anko blinked and looked at the scroll for a total of 3 seconds before shrugging and resuming her walk back to the Namikaze estate. Making sure that nobody was nearby first, Anko entered the estate and through the front door to find Akane going through some sword katas by herself. "Hey Akane, have you seen Naruto-kun?" Anko asked the redhead, who paused for a while and wiped the sweat from her brow. "He just returned around 15 minutes ago, but he was dead tired, so I told him to get some sleep. He's currently sleeping in our bedroom." Akane replied. "Oh, I see," Anko said. "So what were you looking for him for? If it's for your Ryutsu training, he already told me he would get right on it the moment he isn't so tired." Akane informed Anko of what Naruto had told her. "No, that's not it. Kakashi gave me this scroll to hand to him. He said it was a jutsu scroll, contained a jutsu that Naruto-kun would be interested in learning." Anko took the scroll out of her coat pocket and handed it over. Akane inspected the scroll thoroughly before shrugging. "Seems like a normal sealing scroll to me. Besides, I don't believe Kakashi has a grudge against Naru-kun." Akane returned the scroll to her. So what do I do with it? Anko asked. You can either hold on to it until Naru-kun awakes or just leave it at the bedside table. Akane suggested. I think I'll just leave it on the table. Anko decided and went up to the bedroom as Akane returned to her kenjutsu practice. Unknown location. Pain. Has everyone been briefed? A man wearing an orange mask with a spiral design and one eye hole asked a man with orange spiky hair, multiple piercings on his face and ears and purplish-gray ripple-designed eyes. Yes, Madara, everyone has been told of our organization's purpose. Pain replied. Good, then inform everyone that it's almost time for Akatsuki to move. Madara told him and Pain nodded before leaving the room. All according to plan, Madara reached a hand under his orange mask and rubbed a hand along a smooth, white porcelain surface that covered a quarter of his lower jaw. Soon I will be complete.